Ready to escape into a world of enchanting pixels? What is up, my peeps? And today we're going to be reading Sonic the Hedgehog 5-minute stories. Our first story stop is Night of the Unliving. The hero stood frozen in the eerie green light of the machine. The saucer-like monster hovered in the glade, but aside from the strange lights that pulsated from its dome head, the thing had simply hummed a low sound since appearing mysteriously outside the city. "Maybe it just wants to make friends," said Big the cat. The gentle giant reached out a hand towards the saucer's body. "Be careful," said Tails, hovering over the scene on the helicopter twin blades that gave him his name. "You don't know what—" Dang! It was too late. The moment Big touched the machine, an awful grinding noise emanated from within. The massive metal monster spun around and bore itself into the ground. "Submit or be destroyed," cried a hollow, angry voice from within. "Well, I think that settles that." Amy ran up from the edge of the glade and called to her team. "Big, Cream, let's give it a little flower power." Without a word, Big opened up his large bamboo umbrella and twirled it over his head. Amy and Cream the rabbit jumped on top, holding each other's hands and whipping up a furious spinning speed. One, two, 3, go! Amy called, and then let go of Cream to shoot herself at the machine with full force. Her hammer swung around in midair for a mighty blow, and then clang! Amy bounced straight off the whirling body of the saucer. She hit the dirt and rolled to safety, but the machine continued its awful dig, sinking its body firmly into the earth. "Submit, submit, submit," it called out in a droning tone that set the hero's hairs on end. "It looks like the top may be vulnerable," yelled Tails over the noise. "Try to crush its dome." Swoosh! In a split second, a blue blaze flew over their heads, nearly blowing the heroes down with its force. The spinning ball of fury shot towards the machine's dome like a bullet and struck it hard and true. The dome crumpled as the blue blur came into focus as Sonic the Hedgehog. "You were waiting long." "Just kidding. I know you weren't," he said with a smirk, and crouched to balance underneath the half-sunken saucer. Shivered and steamed. "Submit, submit." It wheezed before finally splitting wide open with a wet, sickening sound. The metal body of the monster burst, shooting a torrent of sticky green slime all over Amy's team. "Whoa," said Tails as he zipped high into the air to miss the green goo. "Gross," called Amy. "It feels like I got sneezed on by a giant." "Oh, my poor cheese," said Cream, picking up her floating sidekick pal for wherever he was knocked to the ground. "Oh, I don't know," said Big, sitting calmly in the squishy green slime. "It actually feels kind of nice." "Ha ha ha!" laughed Sonic. "Sorry to say, but that's what happens when you're not the fastest thing alive." Without the robotic saucer body, all that was left of the machine was a tall metal spire. In its middle sat a large green meteor rock that continued to pulsate with strange light, even as it dripped the disgusting discharge. Wait. "We'll have to contact a medical team to decontaminate you," Tails said. "Standard procedure." "Have fun waiting to get hosed off," said Sonic, as he swung outside the slime radius with Tails' help. "I've got more action to find instead of getting stuck in place." The next day, Sonic sped through town in search of some fun. Street after street, the scene was calm and quiet. No explosions or attacks or action of any kind. Except at Cream and Cheese's house? Out front, the kindly rabbit and her partner were making a racket of clangs from a mountain of sheet metal. Cream struck a large wrench against the warped pile again and again. Sparks flew each time she struck, some jumping into Cream's eyes, but neither of them seemed to care. Hey, Cream," Sonic said as he skidded into her driveway. "Working on an art project?" "We're building the spear," said the rabbit without stopping. "Right, the spear." Sonic didn't know exactly what to say. "And you think a wrench is going to shape that metal up the way you want?" Cream stopped her motion mid-swing. She pulled the tool down slowly and stared at it for a long moment. The quiet made Sonic uncomfortable. "Perhaps you're right," she said at last, the wrench dropping with a thud, and Cream reached up her hands to grab the metal firmly. With surprising strength and agonizing squeaking sound, the rabbit folded two pieces of strong metal together as though they were paper. She started to mold and shape the pile like clay. "Wow," said Sonic. "Have you been working out?" The little Chow creature that followed Cream everywhere floated up to Sonic's nose. "Chow." Cream explained to Sonic that this meant they had been strengthened and wanted Sonic to join them. "I got somewhere else to be," Sonic said and sped away before he got too close. The strange encounter drove Sonic across the city to Amy's home. If anyone knew what was going on with those two, it would be their best friend. But when Sonic arrived, Amy came out to greet him. Dun dun dun! I'm kidding. Amy, anyone home? Sonic called into the curiously open door. When no one answered, he walked in. Carefully, there was an ambush waiting. But what let me reread that again. When no one answered, he walked in. Carefully, in case there was an ambush waiting. But what he found was almost too boring. Amy in a room of maps. This planet has so many people on it, she said without looking up. Amy leaned over a massive map of the planet. Pinned on every wall were charts of country borders and city streets. She was totally absorbed. Planning a trip? Sonic asked and forced a flat chuckle. The trip is over, she said slowly. All that's left is to chew! Amy sneezed, covering mouth with her hand, but Sonic noticed that her hands were now covered in green slime. Gross, said Sonic. Amy just looked at him with an empty stare. She slowly reached out her slime-covered hands. It's fine, she said. Touch it and you'll see. In a blur, Sonic was gone again, roaming the streets for answers to whatever had happened to his friends. No matter how fast he ran, no answers came. Then it hit him. The slime! The crash site must hold the answers to what was happening. Within seconds, Sonic was back on the outskirts of town and rushing into the quiet glade. What met him there was another friend, or was it? Big sat still as a stone in the blackened pit at the saucer at Doug. While his back was to Sonic, it was clear that the large purple cat was staring up at the dented meteorite that still glowed an eerie shade of green. Hey, pal, Sonic called, trying to sound normal. Fish ain't biting today? Fish? Big Fino said. No, we're busy. He rose slowly like a sleeping giant and lurched around. His eyes had turned a bright green, and streams of green goo dripped down into his whiskers. To understand us, said the cat slowly, all you have to do is submit. They couldn't be talked to, they couldn't be fought, and they most definitely couldn't be touched. Sonic sprinted in a panic, thinking how he might save his pals. Tails! Sonic burst into his friend's lab. We need to do something. That space probe robot has infected Amy, Big, Cream, and Cheese with some kind of virus. But that's not possible, said Tails. The medical team had checked the entire site. There was no organic matter in the robot. Even if that green slime was just some kind of insulation. There we go. Eventually get that sent out. I don't care what you call it. It did a number on our friends, and now they're acting like some sort of creepy crawlies, said Sonic. He paced the room. What can we do? Well, I'm running some tests on this silver of meteorite, Tails said as he pulled back a shelf to reveal a 2-inch chip off the rock. Sonic stopped dead in his tracks when he saw the green glare of the fragment. Tails, you didn't touch it, did you? Of course not, said the fox. There's still a chance metal like this could be highly volatile, so I took every precaution extracting it from the crash. Well, we've got to figure out what it is, and fast, said Sonic. He looked out at the streets from the window. In the distance, he thought he could see Cream, slowly trudging along with a massive spike slung over her shoulder. That's easier said than done, said Tails. I'm good, but I'm no expert in cosmic meteorology. I'm afraid we're just gonna have to wait until I can run every test I know. But in the street, people were starting to scream. Cream began using her flying ability with her ears to spread slime all over the town. People were getting infected by green slime and slowly turning into a diseased mob, wandering around in slow motion as Tails and Sonic watched in horror. Tails, he said, if there's one thing I'm bad at, it's waiting. The evening became a nightmare in slow motion. Sonic left Tails locked up in the lab to hit the town at top speed, warning anyone and everyone to avoid the sick, but no matter how fast Sonic ran, he was always too late. The people of the city were shambling through the streets. Their heads hung low and their eyes glowed with sticky green slime. Yet, despite their lethargic motions, everyone's strength seems to have increased tenfold. They tore up street lamps, stop signs, and mailboxes. Anything metal was ripped up, crunched together, and carried away by the growing masses. Submit, they droned on as each piece of metal was dragged away. Submit! They're building something, Sonic said as he zipped along the alleys of the city's undetected. They're building something, Sonic said as he zipped along the alleys of the city undetected. Suddenly, a city bus landed in the street ahead of Sonic with an epic boom. He skidded hard to avoid hitting it. When Sonic looked up, he saw Big lumbering towards him. Why does it run from us? Big said. We would not hurt it. Sonic spun the other way, only to see Cream and Cheese approaching from across the street. "Chow," said Cheese in a hollow voice. Sonic backed up against the wall of a building, only to see Amy slinking along the curb towards him. Her face was an eerie green mask. "Why can't it realize that it must submit?" she said, raising a hand. "Or be destroyed!" Sonic sprinted through a small opening between two of them, and he raced away, and he looked back at an army of droning people with glowing green eyes. "They're right behind me, Tails," said Sonic as he slid into the lab. The fox pulled an emergency lever. The windows and doors of the lab were soon covered by metal doors 4 feet thick. "I built this in case Eggman ever attacked. It should hold them back for now," he said. "But what are we going to do about them? They're everywhere." Tails sat at his workshop bench and rubbed his eyes. "I have an idea," he said as a schematic of the saucer machine lit up on a screen behind him. "The green meteorite is more than a mere power source. It has a mind of its own." Outside, the army of affected had reached Tails' lab and began scratching at the metal walls. Scritch, scritch, scritch! "So it's some kind of alien invader?" asked Sonic as the sound grew louder. "Not exactly. This thing isn't living or dead," Tails said in awe. "It's more like a computer than anything else. So like Robocane from RoboCop? Anyway, sailing through space on a makeshift craft for thousands of years, it's like a spear thrown into a sky that never came down. A spear with a simple, primitive program driving it to take over all it comes into contact with." "So, if it's not alive or dead, how do we stop it?" said Sonic, as the scritch seemed to crawl up his spine. "I built this amplifier," Tails said, holding up a large circuit board brimming with wires. "It's attuned to the meteorite's unique frequency. I've used it to speak to the fragment." "And?" Sonic clenched his teeth. "It's amazing, really," said Tails as he stared at the green fragment encased in a grass container. "Just imagine, traveling in the coldest space for millennia. It's slower than us, but so much more patient. We can't even begin to understand what it can do, how it can communicate, through touch and transmission, and even by sight. And once we amplify it fully, everyone will understand." Scritch, scritch, scritch. Tails began rubbing his nails against the glass slowly. "Oh no. Buddy, what are you talking about?" Sonic said as he reeled back in horror. Tails turned to his friend as 2 thin green tears ran down his face. "Don't fight us anymore, Sonic," he said. "We've waited this long. We would take you eventually, and it's so much nicer once you submit." With a slow squeeze, the fox shattered the glass container, grasped the meteorite fragment in his hand, and slammed down on the security switch. Scritch, scratch, scroom! In an agonizing instant, endless streams of green arms stretched their way into the raising doors and lunged at Sonic. Sonic swooped through the lab and stole away Tails' amplifier device. Within seconds, he slipped through a rare, unclogged window and sprinted for the hills. "They need this thing to complete whatever they got planned," said Sonic as he ran. But what can I do that doesn't just slow them down? Fortunately for Fortunately for Sonic, Tails had prepared a memo that he now noticed was attached to the amplifier, telling him exactly what he needed to do. Amy, Tails, and the rest of the infected wandered their way over to the crash site and handed their metal over to Big. Twice as strong as the others, he molded their collection around the meteorite's... Wow, that's a cool picture. Around the meteorite's spire to create one massive broadcast tower. "We have found the path," Big said. "We have found the path," Big said in a robotic tone. "We will send the signal home and call the great meteor here," said Cream, staring up at the tower. "And soon this entire planet will submit to us," said Amy. "Or be destroyed," called Sonic. He stood on a branch high above the crowd with the amplifier in his hands. They turned their heads slowly in unison to look at him. "Do you understand us now?" called Tails. That we can wait forever to win?" "I've accepted the reality," said Sonic, "so I figured I might as well speed things up." He leaped from the tree, holding Tails' amplifier above his head, and landed in the green crowd. Their hands were all over him as they passed Sonic across the glade. Each new touch rubbed him in slime, and soon he started to hear a voice in its head. "Submit," it whispered. "Join us and be strong in the cold stillness of time." By the time Sonic had been passed to... Wait, hold on. By the time Sonic had been passed to the metal tower, his eyes were bleary with the green light. Its power coated his brain, overriding any impulse that was his own. It would be so easy to give in, but his mind raced with a plan. "This," Sonic said slowly, handing forward the device, "this will spread our message across the stars." Big the Cat lifted Sonic up, and the Hedgehog pressed the amplifier to the tower just above the glowing green meteorite. The crowd swayed in excitement. Sonic felt as if his brain was drowning. Did he really want to do this? Did he really want to submit to the power of the unliving rock? His hands attached the wires of Tails' creation to the tower slowly. His fingers ran over its dial, sticking on the buttons. Finally, he was ready. I'm sorry, said Sonic as he flipped the switch on, and his vision erupted in fire. The world came into focus as the light of day stunned Sonic's eyes. He was in a hospital bed, surrounded by... "Tails! Amy! Big!" Sonic cried as he kicked off the covers. "It's okay, Sonic," said Amy. "We're cured." He relaxed and sunk into the bed. "So it worked? I'm glad you found my memo," said Tails. Overloading the amplifier created a wicked feedback loop. The meteorite's powers was never meant to pump out that much info. The meteorite's power was never meant to pump out that much info that quickly. "Gotta move fast," Sonic laughed to himself. "But was anyone hurt?" "Just you, pal. When the machine overloaded, it sparked and caught fire in your hands. Luckily, the feedback was enough to burn the program out of everyone's system and melt the tower." Sonic looked at his hands. They were fully wrapped in clean white gauze and throbbing in pain. "Will I be okay?" he asked. "You will make a full recovery," said Big. "All it will take is time and practice." "Ugh," said Sonic. "If it's one thing I'm bad at, it's waiting." Spook Forest. The smoke of the campfire rose up into the branches of a forest like a ghostly apparition. Sonic the Hedgehog leaned into the popping of the burning logs, lifting his hand to make spidery shadows across his friends' faces. "And the disembodied hand reached up," he said, "and pushed the camper off the cliff into oblivion." "Ah!" shouted the heroes around the fire before breaking into laughter. For 2 nights, Team Sonic had hosted their allies from the team called Chaotix to sleep out under the stars in the ancient forest. And what was a good campfire without scary stories? "That one was good, but I don't think anyone can top Vector's story about the mummy DJ," said Charmy Bee as he buzzed around the fire. "Naw, Espio's story about the invisible truck driver scared me silly," said Vector the crocodile, his headphones for once turned off for some peace and quiet. "Don't you mean," called a voice from the edge of the gathering, "Bubba the Unseen, Espio the chameleon?" Wait, hold on. Espio the chameleon faded into sight just behind his pal. Also, wow, this book is a lot. This story has a lot more pictures in it. But anyways, with his fingers forming the hook hands of the spectral trucker. "You guys are a bunch of dopes," called Knuckles the Echidna. "You guys are a bunch of dopes," called Knuckles the Echidna from a stump away from the campfire. Though Sonic had invited his team along to help build friendships between the two groups of heroes, the prickly Knuckles spent most of the weekend with his arms crossed. "Come on, Knuck," Sonic said as he plucked a hot dog off a stick. "Get into the spirit of a spooky evening." Knuckles stomped across to the others with a cross look. "There ain't no such thing as spooks, ghouls, or ghosts. We've got enough problems in this world fighting off Eggman's robots, alien invaders, and creatures from beyond the universe. There's no reason to drum up kids' tales about graveyard spirits on top of that." "Now, Knuckles," said Tails, "some say that ghost stories represent a battle within ourselves that we haven't won yet. You could learn something from them." "That's Buck," said Knuckles, and crossed his arms again. "You know what I think," said Sonic with a mischievous grin. "I think Knuckles has got an old school case of the willies. He's afraid of the things that go boo in the night." "Yeah," laughed Victor. "And fearless leader maybe ain't so fearless after all." With that, Knuckles' eyes went wide with fury. "Afraid? I'm the bravest, toughest thing any of you chumps have ever seen, and I'll prove it." He started off into the darkness. Sonic's face dropped as his friend walked away. "Aw, come on, Knuckles," he said. "I didn't mean anything by it." But the Echidna was already far off into the distance. "Don't worry," Sonic, said Espio. "That loner just needs to blow off some steam. Anyway, what could hurt him out there?" The blackness of the forest, Knuckles let out his anger in silent trees. "Afraid? What a bunch of baloney," he said, and wiped his fist against the trunk of an old oak tree. A chunk of wood and bark went flying as his punch left a jagged scar. "Look at that. There's nothing I can't fight my way out of." Then, in the silence of the forest, Knuckles heard a sharp crack, followed by a thundering thump. What the? He spun around, but saw nothing. Again, a painful cracking sound echoed across the night, followed by an earth-shaking crash. "Who goes there?" he cried out. "Show yourself, you cowards!" Just then, a sound like oh my god. Just then, a sound like breaking bones. Okay, I did not know I needed broken bones in my Sonic story, but okay then. Just then, a sound like breaking bones assaulted Knuckles' ears. Really? He has ears? I guess he kind of does. You just don't really see them. But anyway, I lost my spot. And he turned, realizing that it was the shattering of a tree's roots that caused it. Before he could think, the mighty trunk before him shivered and sunk into the ground with a violent boom. The forest floor shook, and Knuckles was knocked to the ground. How in the world did that happen? He said, jumping to his feet. As he looked closer, he heard a deep grinding noise, and a long, red metal tail slithered out of sight. It's Dr. Eggman! He's built some kind of new machine, and it's digging his way towards Sonic, Tails, and the Chaotix. Knuckles raced on his feet into the direction of the robot digger. Out ahead of him, every few minutes, another tree would shiver, crack, and get swallowed whole into the earth. As he ran through the path of destruction, Knuckles realized that he'd been turned around during the chase. It isn't like the gang to go and get lost when trying to help them, he said. Then in the distance, a massive tree rose up into Knuckles' vision. It reached so high into the sky that it felt like its branches might grab onto the moon and not let go. Its trunk was as thick as a building, with bumps and grooves all along it. It almost looked like sad, agonized faces at its base. Okay, then. The tree's roots bubbled up above the dirt and made a tangled web of tripwires for 50 yards all around. As he approached it, Knuckles felt this was less a tree and more some kind of massive living monster. Behind him, he heard another crack and rumble. You're not getting this tree, Eggman, said Knuckles. Not today. The echidna sprinted away from the tree and directly towards danger. Nearly 200 yards out, he felt the vibrations of the metal monster approaching. He jumped high in the air and punched down to the ground with epic force. This book really likes using the word epic a lot, doesn't it? Anyway. Sending shockwaves through the dirt. At the moment later, Knuckles could hear the whirring gears of the machine in the distance. It was retreating. I've kept it at bay for now, he said, but if I don't... Before he could finish the thought, the ground beneath him began to rumble. Knuckles' feet sank into the dirt as the forest floor began to swirl around him like a whirlpool. Then it opened up and swallowed him whole, pulling him deep, deep down into the ground, like a hand beyond the grave. Back at the campsite, the fire had burned down low into a pile of glowing embers. Sonic and Tails sat up in their sleeping bags, talking. Do you think Knuckles is all right? Sonic said. You know he's always been a lone wolf. Or, a lone echidna, said Tails. I'm sure he'll show up when he's ready. I know, Sonic sighed. I just feel bad. This was supposed to be fun. I didn't bring us here to fight. He'll get over it, Sonic, the fox yawned. It's not like Knuckles hasn't been known to sling a few cheap shots to this day. Just enjoy the peace and quiet. Just then, the forest all around them began to ring with a horrible cracking sound. Ancient wood turned to splinters. To the left, to the right, everywhere, and the ground began to shake and tilt on the edges of the clearing. What the heck is happening? Cried Charmy as he flew down from the tree he'd been snoozing in. We're being attacked. Zzz, snored Victor on the ground with his noise-canceling headphones pumping jams in his ears. Get him up, said Sonic. Everyone formed a circle. The combined teams soon stood shoulder to shoulder around the rock-protected fire pit. Suddenly, the trees on the edges of the clearing were sucked into the ground. The heroes' heads snapped all around, but they still couldn't see who was behind it all. Is it a ghost? Asked Charmy. I'm betting it's more like a ghoul named Eggman, said Sonic. In that very moment, a metal dome burst forth from beneath the fire pit. Dr. Eggman rose from the ground in a gargantuan monster called the Egg Dragoon. Oh! From Sonic Unleashed. And Generations, too. Cool. Anyway, since the heroes last saw this vile machine, the Doctor had fitted it with several drills and worm-like arms and made it capable of burying deep within the ground. As it broke out into the moonlight, the Dragoon sent dirt embers and the two teams flying through the air in all directions. What brilliant luck, laughed Eggman. I had hoped to strip this forest of its trees in secret so I could build a new robot factory, but I never dreamed I'd be able to bury you in the process. Sonic stood up and faced his enemy. Fist clenched. I'd like to see you try, Baldy. Ha ha ha! Cackled the scientist. Talk is cheap, Hedgehog, but even you can't defeat an entire forest. As the black dirt shook off the back of the Egg Dragoon, the machine lifted an entire rack of fallen trees on its back, which Eggman can now use as weapons. Crack! The machine launched one trunk at a shaky Victor and Espio, rolling them onto their backs. Swalk! Another giant log swung through the air at Charmy and Tails, swatting them down like flies. Thunk! A third tree careened towards Sonic. The hyper-fast Hedgehog dodged the attack just in time, but with this kind of firepower, even Sonic started to worry that Eggman had finally won the day. Meanwhile, deep within the earth, Knuckles fought to dig his way out. Digging was one of Knuckles' specialties, but for some reason he couldn't seem to find his berries. "Which way is up already?" he yelled as he sank deeper and deeper into the darkness. Trying to get out of a cave in Minecraft be like. Anyway, with his hands fiercely clawing at the earth in front of him, Knuckles suddenly broke through an empty space. He tumbled forward in an empty, windless hole and landed in the middle of a pitch-black tunnel. As he stood up, Knuckles saw that the tunnel was round. Roots hung from the ceiling like stalagmites in a cave. Unfortunately, he was not alone. "Cutter!" came a whisper from deep in the darkness. "Slasher! Ripper!" The words were spit like an accusation. "Whoever you are, come out," Knuckles said. "I've had a bad night. I'm in the mood to punch something." Like the flicker of a candle, a soft white light appeared down the tunnel and floated closer and closer. All the while, its tiny voice shrieked, "Cutter! Slasher! Ripper!" Knuckles squinted in the darkness, and he finally saw it. A small floating body with wavering arms and a large lumpy head. The creature's face was twisted like the knots on a tree trunk, with big black eyes and a mouth twisted into a horrible gaping hole. It looked like a ghost! "Slasher! Biter! Breaker!" it called to him, began to swoop and swing around his head. "Stop it!" cried Knuckles. "Stop saying that stuff!" He swung his arms wildly about, but they never seemed to connect. Finally, the glowing creature floated firmly in front of Knuckles, and he punched it as hard as he could, but his fist went straight through. All he could feel was the bitterly cold air as he sunk his hand to the ground, and with that the spook flew away. Come back here!" cried Knuckles, and ran after it. All along the way he punched and kicked at the dirt, but it did no good. Eventually Knuckles came to a dead end, and the spook hung there, staring right through him. "The cutter must be judged," it hissed. "Take it to the Queen." From out of the walls, tiny worm-like lights emerged and sunk themselves into Knuckles' skin. They flowed in and out of his face, and he could feel them sliding through his cheeks like icy needles. "Stop it! Stop it!" he cried. But the worm seemed to weaken him, and a pair of roots stretched down from above and pulled Knuckles into the dirt. He went limp, and the earth carried him along for what felt like ages. Knuckles' heart pumped with pure fear until the ground seemed to belch up into another dirt cavern. This one was lit all around by glowing spooks who hung in a massive network from roots along the dome ceiling. As Knuckles stood up and shivered, he saw the center of the root system had made a kind of throne, upon which had a spook that was as big as he was. She had a long, slender face, but her eyes were deeper and blacker than anything he had ever seen. While she sat lightly in the throne, strands of ethereal light hung off of her like cobwebs and connected back up into the earth. "This is not the one we fight," said the Queen Spook. "You got that right. It's Eggman you want." "But," said the Queen, "this one does not respect our kind." "What do you mean?" Knuckles said. She floated down to his level, the strands of her body stretching all the way back to the throne. Then the Queen reached out and plucked her ghostly fist straight into Knuckles' heart. In an instant, he felt it all. These were the spirits of the forest, long forgotten by man. And the one he met in the tunnel was a young spirit, barely 5 decades old, who took roots in the tree he had punched during his fit of anger. You all feel it," Knuckles said. "And you're all dying while Eggman tears up the forest. The giant tree at its heart gets weaker and weaker." "Not just him," said the Queen. "You've been cutting and chopping this ancient forest for years. Eggman has just accelerated a long, slow, inevitable end." Knuckles' eyes opened wide with anger. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'll stop him. With your help, I'll stop it all." Across the forest, Eggman had Sonic and his friends on their last legs. His egg dragoon stumped and slashed its way through the forest after them. "Hit him head on," called Sonic. Victor chomped hard at the dragon's feet to no effect. Espio began throwing kunai, but they were thwarted by a swinging trunk. Tails and Charmy flew around Eggman's cockpit, but couldn't get in close enough to land a blow. "The forest can't take much more of this," called Vector, "and neither can we. Give up, you weak little beasts, and give up, you weak little beasties," cried Eggman with a maniacal grin. "Nothing can get in my way now." In the distance, Sonic could see a giant ancient tree rise above their heads. Its branches swayed in the starlight as if the tree knew what was coming for it. With a mighty crash, The Dragoon tossed another massive tree to the ground, toppling the team with the force of its landing. Eggman powered on toward the old tree, but just then the ground began to shake. Sonic and the team craned their necks to see what was happening, just as the earth opened up to let Knuckles rise within. "This stops now!" cried the echidna with fury. "Ha!" laughed Dr. Eggman. "Does a spiny little bully think he has the power to stop me? Not only can I stop you," Knuckles said, "but I don't even need to touch you to do it." Knuckles raised his hands, and from underneath him, an army of ghost lights rose up from the ground and swirled all around him. They flew at Eggman as tiny voices screamed, "Cutter, Slasher, Ripper!" The evil doctor's eyes went wide as strands of spectral energy wormed its way through his cockpit and began to crawl in and out of his face. The spirits howled and twisted their features in terrifying shapes. They surrounded him completely, and all Eggman could do was swat at nothing. "Get away! Get away! What madness is this?" he cried and blasted open the hatch. Eggman tried to crawl to safety, but the spirits were unrelenting. He slipped and fell off the top of the Dragoon, and in midair the long finger-like branches of the old tree reached out and plucked him. Like a disembodied hand, the tree grabbed the villain firmly, then flung him across the forest and into oblivion. With that, the spirits calmed. They floated gently down towards Knuckles, where one small spirit in particular floated just above his eyes. "Thank you," he said. "I'll keep fighting." And then they rose up into the branches of the ancient tree and winked away like dying campfire embers. "That," said Tails, "is going to make for one awesome ghost story." As dawn broke over the forest, Sonic and Knuckles stood near the edge of the giant tree's root system. "The old girl looks pretty good," said Sonic. "Eggman did damage, but at least he didn't destroy her." "Not yet," said Knuckles, "but every day we let this world abuse a forest like this, we bring it closer to extinction. I wish you could have felt what I did when I met the Queen of the Spirits, Sonic." If I didn't know you better, Knuckles, I'd say you sound scared right now." "I'm not scared," said Sonic. "I'm haunted." Alright, next story, Hunt of the Werehog. The shadowy monster crept into view and slashed its arms towards Sonic the Hedgehog's face. In the dark and dirty corners of a city alley, it was hard to tell where the black of night ended and the creature began, but one thing was clear: the monster had terrible fangs and was biting forward with all its might. "Scream!" The creature shrieked his ear-splitting cry as it lunged right up in Sonic's face. And then the screen cut to black. Sonic, Tails, and Amy stood silent at the video they just watched. "This was taken the last night, not 3 blocks from my laboratory," said Professor Pickle. "Oh! Is it that character from Sonic Unleashed?" Yes it is, because it says Dark Gaia. And I know Dark Gaia is from Unleashed. Okay then, wait, is that Dark Gaia? Yeah, Dark Gaia. That is so cool. Most of this book taking inspiration from Unleashed. Anyway, "This was taken last night, not 3 blocks from my laboratory," said Professor Pickle, "and while it's the first definitive proof that these Dark Gaia minions have been repaired, we've been receiving reports of attacks for almost 2 weeks. "Dark Gaia," said Sonic. "That ancient monster was as annoying as he was but ugly." "It's no laughing matter," said Amy. "Last time that creeper broke free, he nearly destroyed the whole planet." See? The Sonic Unleashed reference. "Quiet!" No, not quiet, sorry. "Quite," said the professor. "As a hyper-energy organism birthed at the dawn of time, Dark Gaia is an immeasurable, unfathomable power that can pose a great threat to the planet. His minions' reappearances raise the question: has the monster somehow re-emerged from his ancient slumber?" Sonic zipped around the lab at hyper-speed. "If that word of destruction is back, I'll swat him down like the first time we clashed," said the Hedgehog as he skidded to a stop. "Sonic, you've got more to do than show off," said Amy. "I only saw the dark minions from a distance, and I know they can have a serious effect on people." You're worrying over nothing, Amy," said Sonic. "The only effects of the Dark Gaia's energy were that I got a bit furrier, and these little monsters are probably just stragglers. And we took them out, before with a little more than a flashbulb camera. Right, Tails? Flashbulb camera? Okay then. I guess that's the type of camera that's used. Huh. Anyway, and we took them out before with a little more than a flashbulb camera. Right, Tails? The fox had been studying the video footage closely. "Well, I've been tinkering with a better light-based gadget to help destroy Dark Gaia's minions since our first encounter. Kind of like a super camera," he said. "Way past cool," said Sonic. "Adventures of Sonic reference!" Anyway. So let's you and me hit the... Okay then. So let's you and me hit the street and blast these beasties off the map. You better get started quickly, said Amy, looking out the window. The sun's going down as we speak, and when that happens, the dark minions will come out. Night or day, there's no way I can't... Woo! Cried Sonic as his body began to shake. As the sun fell below the horizon, a strange purple smoke rose up from the floor and enveloped the hedgehog. His eyes bulged in pain, his teeth and quills throbbed, then grew in size. The tips of his fingers sprouted thick claws through his gloves, and at the moment the hero had somehow morphed into a monster himself. Sonic the Warhog! I'm Sonic the werehog, cried Amy with fear. You're not supposed to be like this. What's happening to me, Professor? Sonic growled as he flexed his shaggy arms. Astonishing, cried Professor Pickle. It seems returning to my city and coming closer with this new wellspring of dark Gaia energy has reignited your werehog form. I keep want to say warhog, but that's not how you pronounce that. You were always able to resist being fully taken by the darkness, but it appears that your long transformation has left you susceptible to the monster's energy. Maybe Dark Gaia has returned, said Tails. If that's true, then things are about to get a lot more exciting, said Sonic. Let's go. Wait, said Amy as Sonic rushed for the door. I'm no expert in Dark Gaia, but I think you'll want my help. It's too dangerous, said the Hedgehog as he leaped out of the lab into the night. Come on, Tails, let's get that gizmo charged. I can't believe I'm saying this, but slow it down, Sonic, called Tails. This thing is heavy. The fox flew up behind his friend, equipped with a dark minion blasting invention he called the Flashbanger. The device consisted of a golden power cell Tails wore like a backpack, and from there, cords wound onto his arms to two massive gauntlets, each made his hands into bulb-like fists that could blast a beam of concentrative light. On Tails' wrist was a small screen that recorded images of his targets to steal their power. What good is that thing going to be if we can't find any of these dark minions, Tails, said Sonic as his eyes scanned the skyline. If they were really here in force, we should have found something, anything in the city by now. It's far too quiet, said Tails, but if you're still in werehog mode, there's gotta be something out there. Where? This transformation makes me feel so itchy. It's like I got fleas, but there's nothing. It's almost as if the minions have gone into hiding. That's not their style at all. At that moment, an eerie scream rang out in the distance of the cold night. It sounded like someone was equal parts terrified and in horrible pain. That could be something, said Tails. Sonic sped down the hill at top speed, his newly gray fur rippled with anticipation as he lumbered forward. The stream was coming across a small square barely lit by flickering streetlights. As Sonic zeroed in, he saw a young woman bent over and pulling at her own hair. It isn't fair! It isn't fair! Cried the woman, her back to the werehog. Can't anyone do something? Hey, lady, it's gonna be okay, said Sonic as he slowed to a trot and reached out a hand. She spun around with an angry jerk. What could you possibly know about it? She yelled. The skin around her eyes was dark with an unnatural shadow, and the woman sank to her knees in despair. Oh, it's too late! All around the edges of the square, purple shadows swirled. Suddenly, dark minions began stepping out of the darkness, their bodies throbbing with strange neon light. Their empty red eyes twitched, and their bodies wore into the shape of sharp spikes, slithering tails, and wagging tongues. They were closing in. All right, you little slugs, called Sonic. It's time you let this woman go and crawl back to where you belong. The werehog dove headfirst into the pile of minions and tried to draw them away from the woman. Skittering around the square again and again, Sonic punched the dark minions with his newly extended, powerful arms. But each time he came close to a minion, the creature somehow slid out of his claws. Reach! Come out and face me, cowards! He cried and began swinging, but even with his hyperextended werehog arms, the beasts remained frustratingly out of reach. Fosh! 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 3 bursts of light flashed overhead, and the dark minions began to reel back and squeal their horrid cries. It was Tails and the Flashbanger. Don't let them escape, Sonic, the fox called, snapping the supercharged device. Right. Sonic used his now extended arms to place all the objects in the square that he could reach at each of the exits to trap the minions. As the space lit up with Tails' flashes, the minions had nowhere to run except up. They're escaping up that building, cried Tails. The werehog used his arms by lengthening them and climbing up the walls quickly, but just as he was about to grab the army of fleeting minions near the building's roof, a bubble of dark energy burst before him like a shadowy grenade. Swoom! The force of the blast hit Sonic hard and tossed the werehog off the building side like a rag doll. Sonic landed on the street below with a crash. And though his werehog form was strong enough to absorb the impact, his pride took a beating that would sting for days. "Are you okay?" asked Tails. "Grr, I'm fine," Sonic said as he, looking up at an empty sky. "Which way did they go?" "I lost them trying to flashbang. Whatever that blast energy was," said Tails. "And I think the sun is about to come up." "What happened?" asked the woman. She struggled to stand, but her eyes looked clear, dark eyes' influence. "You took a hit from something otherworldly," Sonic said. "It was so strange," said the woman. "I was out for a pre-dawn run, and I felt this force tell me I was destined to be alone forever, like I was the last person left on this planet." Sonic and Tails made it back to Professor Pickle's lab just as the sun was rising. The effects of the werehog transformation had worn off, but it left Sonic wiped of all energy. "I just need to recharge my batteries, then we'll track down those minions and figure out what they're up to," he said. "It's the second part I'm worried about," Tails yawned as he flipped through the images on the flashbanger screen. "They've never been quite this tricky. It makes me think Dark Gaia has returned." "Perhaps not," said Amy from behind the Gaia manuscript, "but he may be close to resurfacing." The usually bouncy pink hedgehog dragged herself over to the other two, and the pair could see deep rings under her eyes. "I've been up all night reading the professor's ancient Gaia manuscript," she said. "I wanted to find the secret to what's happening, and I think I have something." "Come on, Amy," said Sonic, patting his pal on the shoulder. That moldy old manuscript is full of doublespeak and weird riddles. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to figure them out." "But I really think I have something," she said. "What I think the manuscript says is what the says is that while Dark Gaia slumbers, his extant energy can sometimes scour the planet in search of its master. If the Dark Minions are attacking people, it may be because they're looking for someone to take the place of their ward." "Then who is this?" said Tails, dropping the flashbanger's view screen on the table. The picture was of the rooftop where Sonic had been blown back. Thanks to Tails' burst of light, the team could see that the Dark Minions retreating over the ledge, but there was something else. A shadowy figure seemed to stand on the roof, calling the Minions back with a blurry wave of its arm. "Whoa," said Sonic. "Good catch, pal. There's some mastermind behind this whole scheme after all. But do you think Dark Gaia could have returned at this small a size?" "It could be him," said Tails. "He may have taken a different form until he consolidate his energies again." "But," said Amy with a yearning voice, "my research says it's not possible." "Don't sweat it, Amy," said Sonic as he headed off to bed. "Your hammer comes in handy for bashing the occasional robot, but leave this spooky stuff to the professionals." Geez, Sonic. Anyway, after a day of fitful sleep for Sonic and Tails, night descended on the city once again, but there was a strange energy in the air as the moon rose, and Sonic felt it as he transformed back into the werehog. "There's no second chances tonight," he told Tails as they hit the streets. "I can feel it in my bones. I wonder if we can really seal Dark Gaia again." And the Dark Minions were out in force. As Sonic sped through the city streets, the icky beasts seemed to taunt him along with the everyday citizens whom they possessed. At every turn, people were crying out, "What's the point? We're all so alone." At each turn, Sonic would swoop in to save citizens, while Tails delivered a 1-2 blast from his flashbanger to shake off the Dark Minions, but the creatures never stayed long after a fight. "This is infuriating," Sonic growled as another batch of minions escaped down a sewer drain. "What are these things even trying to do?" Tails slipped through his screen for any kind of clue. "I'm not sure what they're getting at by terrorizing these poor people, but I do think I know where they're going." He pulled up a map of the city that blinked with red lights. "Do you see the pattern here? Every time we drive the minions off, they run towards this older section of town." "Then let's go smash it," the werehog said, and shot off into toward the outskirts. As he raced along, Sonic was irritated. It wasn't just the effect of the dark magic that made him a beastly werehog. He hated not being in control, not being fast enough to bash in a bad guy's face. Honestly, I can't really blame him. "Sonic!" called a strange voice. The werehog slowed down outside an alleyway that ended in a large pit like the mouth of a cave. "Sonic!" Hold on, I think I said that wrong. No, I read that in the wrong voice. Hold on. "Sonic!" called a strange voice. The werehog slowed down in outside an alleyway that ended in a large pit like the mouth of a cave. "Sonic! If Dark Gaia wants me, he's gonna get more me than he can handle," Sonic said, and raced down underground. Suddenly he was surrounded. Dark minions crawled out from every corner of the cave and screeched and squealed at Sonic as he ran, but they didn't attack. Instead, the creatures descended on the mouth of the cave and began clawing at the rocks around it. Boom! In a second, the entire opening was closed off in darkness. "Tails!" he said, realizing too late. Now I'm all alone without the flashbanger's help. So be it." Sonic worked his way deeper into the dark with only the light of the dark minions' glowing bodies to guide him. They kept their distance from the werehog, but up ahead he could see the shadow of their leader standing on some strange altar. "So, you finally come to me, eh, Sonic?" said a voice that was both squeaky and thunderous. "Without me, you would have never found this energy source." "Well, now that I'm here, I'm going to bust your butt up all over again, Dark Gaia." "Ha ha ha ha," the leader laughed. "You really think I'm the Dark One? His power's still hidden at the planet's core, but this energy source called out for someone to care for it, and I answered the call. With a swing of a hammer, the leader leaped up and struck the ceiling. A hole broke open, and the minions detected Dark Gaia energy leaking from this place. Letting in just enough of the moonlight, and I became obsessed with Dark Gaia, being obsessed with Dark Gaia, came here too." "Amy?" Sonic couldn't believe his eyes. His friend was swirling with Dark Gaia energy. Her pupils were a solid blank with the low glow of red energy, and her quills rippled with the same power that turned him into a werehog. "Surprised?" Amy said with a wide smile. "The energy of Dark Gaia was calling to you, Sonic, but you ignored it, just like how you ignored me." "Amy, I didn't mean to, But Sonic didn't know what to say. "I was obsessed by the dark energy as I studied the minions' actions. I had no idea how powerful it truly was, and it brought me here." "I'm sorry," said the werehog. "But whatever this is, it isn't the answer." "Oh, it's not," said Amy, lifting her hands. "Was I not able to study the Gaia manuscript? Was I not able to gather every single remaining minion in one location? Admit it, Sonic. I have more skills than you thought." Okay, I should have asked for your help. I shouldn't have done this alone, but what do you want me to do now, Amy?" "What I want you to watch as I do this," she said, and swung her hammer with ridiculous speed at the ceiling. Pieces of the ceiling rained down around her before Amy cried out, "Now, Tails! Fosh, fosh, fosh!" From up above, Tails rained down blasts from the flashbanger, and the dark minions had nowhere to go. Their screams were brief but sharp as, one by one, the army of monsters saw their power stolen by Tails' machine and they evaporated into smoke. Amy floated for a moment in the hole she had created, but as the dark Gaia energy left her, she fell like a stone into the cavern. Sonic rushed forward to catch her, and as she collapsed in his arms, he realized that he himself was a hedgehog once again. "Sorry to scare you, Sonic," Amy said. "It was hard to fight off Dark Gaia's influence, but I knew I could beat him if I tried. It was crazy for me to doubt you, Amy," said Sonic. And it would have been easier for you if I had asked for your help from the start." "So, you don't think I'm a monster?" Amy asked. "We can all turn into monsters sometimes," said Sonic with a laugh, "but friends like you, it's easy to turn back." That's actually such a clever double meaning. That right there is such a clever double meaning. And anyway. Not so fantastic journey. Wham! Another robot slammed into the wall, breaking into two, now inanimate pieces of junk metal. Sonic turned around to see that it was Knuckles who had stopped the robot right before it had reached him. He gave him a quick nod as they both kept fighting and shouted, "Thanks, that was a close one." The day began like any other day. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy Rose learned that a small army of Dr. Eggman's robots had descended on the city and were wreaking havoc everywhere. As usual, the team raced to the scene and leaped to the action. Sonic sped up and down buildings, leaping off them, smashing through outer shells of robot after robot. Tails weaved his plane in and around the cityscape, blasting robots into oblivion. Knuckles and Amy Rose used their strength and fighting skills to dominate several other robots. It almost seemed too easy, and perhaps it was. Not far from the scene of the battle, Eggman observed the fight between his creations and Team Sonic from a floating platform. Smiling, he pulled a small remote control, or RC, from his pocket. He pressed a small button on the side of the remote. Suddenly, from beneath the platform, a swarm of what appeared to be bees formed a cloud around Eggman. "Finally, my ultimate plan has come to pass. These robot bees will inject Sonic with tiny nanobots that'll take over his cellular structure and turn him into a robot. A robot that I can control," said Eggman and laughed. "Fly, my pretties." Nice Wizard of Oz reference. The swarm drifted high into the air and began the flight towards Sonic and his friends in the city. Unaware of the oncoming cloud of robot bees, Sonic stood with his friends in the middle of the carnage and smashed and shattered the remains of an evil robot surrounding them. "Nothing like totally winning another fight with Eggman's loser bots," Sonic said, his friends laughing. "Oh, Sonic," Amy Rose giggled, "you were amazing as always." Tails and Knuckles rolled their eyes at each other. You're right, I was," Sonic said. "Whatever," Knuckles said. You couldn't have done it without us." "Could so," Sonic replied, pretending to be offended by his friend's words. What I don't totally understand is why was it so easy to beat those robots? Something's up, Tails said, sounding unusually worried. Easy? There was like 1,000,000 robots. That wasn't easy, Knuckles protested. No, he's right, Sonic said. It's almost like it was supposed to be a distract man. Eggman's up to some... Tails raised his hand. Shh! What was that noise? And what's that noise? He asked. The group went silent. In the distance, they heard a humming noise. It grew louder and louder. The sky darkened as a cloud of bees shrouded the sun. What is that? Amy Rose asked, her voice quivering. Eggman's distraction, Sonic said. The cloud of robot beasts shrunk and morphed into an almost solid cube. The cube picked up speed as it hurled towards Sonic. The speedy Hedgehog was poised to strike. Just as he was about to run toward the cube exploded into a spherical swarm. Each of the thousands of robot bees pointed their stingers towards Sonic and were moving down on top of him in sphere formation. Sonic's eyes grew wide. He had never seen anything like it before. Paralyzed in wonder, Sonic could only stare as the bees moved faster and closer to him. Sonic, move! Tails yelled, but it was no use. Sonic was hypnotized by the bees. Knuckles jumped into action. The red echidna climbed rapidly up the wall of a nearby building and sprang off towards Sonic. The bees were getting close, only inches from Sonic. Knuckles collided with Sonic, slamming the Hedgehog to the ground and out of the bee's path. Snapping him out of his hypnotic trance, Knuckles stood just in time to see the sphere of bees cover Knuckles, stinging him all over his body. Seconds later, the bees regrouped as the cube and flew away, high into the sky. Sonic, Tails, and Amy Rose stood over Knuckles. Ugh! What happened? Knuckles managed to say as he moaned, I don't feel right. We've got to get him back to my lab, Tails said urgently. Back in Tails' lab, Knuckles was flat on his back and connected to several different machines. The brilliant Fox was examining a strange spot on Knuckles' arm. Guys, come check this out, Tails said. Sonic and Amy Rose joined him, peering at the weird metallic spot that was slowly growing on Knuckles' arm. I think those bees are turning Knuckles into a robot, Tails said matter-of-factly. How is that possible? Amy Rose asked. The same way the metavirus is possible. Just joking. Anyway, Sonic turned away angrily. Eggman has to be behind this. Those robots we beat were a distraction like we thought. A distraction so those bees could sting me and turn me into a robot. Exactly, Tails said. I think those bee stingers injected Knuckles with microscopic robots, nanobots, that are rewriting his body and turning him into a robot. Amy Rose teared up. Is there anything we can do? We have one last shot, but it's a long one, Tails said. We have to get Knuckles inside and destroy them. We have to get inside Knuckles and destroy the nanobots that have started to take over his body. Inside? Amy Rose asked, confused. Yes, Tails replied. Walking across the lab to a larger machine topped by a laser, we can use the super shrink ray to enter his body through that robotic spot on his arm. I'm going in, said Sonic. I thought you might say that, Tails said. Here's what I think. It looks like the nanobots are just like any other beehive. They have a queen that's controlling them. Plus, I think they're self-replicating or something. Anyways, they have orders from the queen to complete their task, so they will not stop until they do. Or until I defeat the queen, Sonic said. Exactly, said Tails. Knock out the hive. Got it. Where's the queen going to be so I can kick her tail? Sonic asked. I don't know exactly, but I bet she's inside Knuckles' brain, Tails said. Sonic nodded. Let's do this, he said. Let's do this, he said. Deep inside his hideout, Dr. Eggman welcomed his swarm of bees back into their mechanical hive. Like real honeybees, with the loss of their stingers, the robots would soon shut down forever. Eggman, disappointed the bees were unable to get to Sonic, took comfort in knowing that Sonic would suffer from watching his friend disappear. He pressed a button on the remote control to turn on the nanobot's cameras, and then turned on a computer monitor to watch. The nanobots inside of Knuckles' body were busy replacing his biological parts with robotic parts. This won't take long at all, Eggman said, and laughed. Sonic stood in front of the shrink ray. He was angry. Angry that Eggman had attacked. Angry that Knuckles had got hurt. Angry that he was so hypnotized by the bees in the first place. But even as angry as he was excited to fight the nanobots inside Knuckles. This was an adventure and a rescue mission all in one. One that required him to go fast before it was too late. And Sonic loved going fast. Tails gave Sonic a handheld digital map of Knuckles' innards. Anyway, a flashing dot showed Sonic his location on the map. He'd be able to use it by finding his way around the maze of Knuckles' organs. This might tickle, Tails said as he flipped a switch on the shrink ray. A blast of green, white light burst out of the machine, and an instant later, Sonic disappeared from sight, shrunk an almost microscopic level. Tails used a pair of tweezers to pick Sonic up from the ground. He and Amy Rose were careful not to speak, as the sound waves from their voices could have moved Sonic like it was blown by a massive hurricane. Carefully, Tails set Sonic onto the metal spot of Knuckles' arm. It looked to Sonic like the doorway to a massive steel castle. He stepped inside and found a metallic hallway that led to an opening of muscle tissue. Sonic ran over to the muscle tissue and looked around the inside of Knuckles' arm. He was amazed by what he saw. The nanobots were all moving rapidly throughout the arm, replacing nerves, muscles, ligaments, and other tissues with robot parts. It's almost like the nanobots were overriding these tissues with their technological organs. This place is crazy, Sonic said, pushing a button on the map device. How do I get to Knuckles' brain? Follow the nerves in Knuckles' arm to get to his brain, the computerized voice of the map device said. Sonic looked around the city of body tissues until he spotted what looked to be power lines running throughout. There were small electrical sparks crackling along the power lines. Nerves. Sonic began to run alongside the nerves. He picked up speed, racing toward the brain, where all the nerves would come together. Suddenly, a pair of nanobots cut him off as he ran. Sonic curled himself into a ball to avoid smashing into the nanobots, rolling to a stop directly in front of the robotic bacteria. Sonic watched as the nanobots began planting their technological body parts all over the nerves Sonic was following. Knock it off, you guys. You're getting on my nerves, Sonic said. Actually, Knuckles' nerves. I guess. Whatever, just stop. The nanobots turned for a brief second to glance at Sonic and returned to their work. Sonic smirked. That's how you want to play it? Fine. That's how we'll play it, Sonic said. Sonic ran towards the nanobots and threw a mighty punch at the one closest to him. The nanobot shattered into a million pieces. The second nanobot continued to work on the nerve, surprised and emboldened at how easily the first nanobot was destroyed. Sonic wound up and blasted the second nanobot with a massive punch. It shattered just as easily as the first. Sonic laughed. Whoa, this isn't going to be hard at all. These things are totally wimpy, he thought to himself. No sooner had he finished that thought than another pair of nanobots arrived and began working on the nerve exactly where the first two had been. Sonic destroyed those and they were immediately replaced by another set. He was going to need to get to the Queen. Sonic jumped back into running along the muscle tissue. Because Knuckles was strong, his muscles were firm and tight. It was actually the perfect type of stuff to be running on, with the power line-like nerve crackling above him. Sonic ran as fast as he could, heading up to Knuckles' brain. Dr. Eggman had stepped away from his monitors for only a minute. Even mad scientists have to eat every once in a while. But when he returned, he heard the computer's blaring alarm. Warning, intruder, damage to nanobots. Warning, intruder, damage to nanobots, the computer repeated. Eggman hurriedly sat down and examined the monitors. He could see the nanobots Sonic had destroyed. He pressed some buttons to change to different cameras, and when he saw it, the blue blur he hated more than anything in the world. Sonic, Dr. Eggman hissed. Typing quickly into his computer, Eggman ordered the nanobots to attack Sonic. Dozens of nanobots inside Knuckles' body left their tasks of roboticizing and moved a mini swarm to Sonic's location near Knuckles' shoulder. Maybe I'll get the Sonic I want after all, Eggman said, pleased. Sonic had been running and dodging obstacles, both biological and technological, throughout Knuckles' body. He was nearing the collarbone and neck. Just a little further, and Sonic would be a Knuckles' head on his way to the brain, but that would have to wait another minute. Sonic screeched to a halt, sliding on Knuckles' collarbone. Eggman's mini swarm of assault nanobots gathered around him. They looked a lot like the swarm of bees that had distracted Sonic earlier, but he wasn't going to let them hypnotize him this time. The nanobots encroached, and Sonic blasted them away. He ran in a circle, creating a whirlwind that yanked several nanobots from the swarm and smashed them against each other in the funnel of wind. He rolled himself into a ball and bowled over another group of the nanobots, sending nanobot shrapnel flying everywhere. He spun in the air, kicking through countless more. In a few short moments, the attacking nanobots had all been destroyed. I'm not going to wait around for replacements to show up, Sonic said, and hurled himself back into action. Sonic arrived at the base of Knuckles' neck. The nervous system turned upward, but there wasn't much he could run on to follow it to the brain. Sonic then noticed Knuckles' windpipe was right in front of him. If he could catch the wind current when Knuckles breathed down, he could ride that up into Knuckles' head. Watching the moment in Knuckles' neck, in order to time his leap, Sonic stepped backward to give himself the room to run. At the right moment, Sonic sped forward and jumped in the middle of Knuckles' throat. For a brief second, Sonic panicked Then he mistimed his jump, and Knuckles is breathing in, the air pushing Sonic downward. But before he could even finish that thought, Sonic felt his body soaring upwards on a stream of air, carrying him into Knuckles' head. Sonic moved toward the back of Knuckles' head, near the base of his skull. He followed the hundreds of nerves that had converged in Knuckles' spine. He climbed up to it into his friend's brain. "I actually am Knuckles' brain. That's so weird," Sonic whispered to himself. Sonic could see a cluster of nanobots that surrounded a larger nanobot, the Queen. There was no time for hesitation. Sonic zoomed from the base of the brain straight to the Queen and her minions. He moved so quickly that the minion nanobots didn't put up any sort of fight. He caught them off guard. Leaping from the carnage to the shattered minions, Sonic landed atop the Queen nanobot. With super speed, Sonic curled his body into a ball and charged toward the Queen nanobot in a mighty spin attack, blasting the Queen into oblivion. The Queen destroyed, Sonic looked around in awe as the carcasses of other nanobots disappeared. By destroying the Queen, Sonic had caused all the beasts to self-destruct. The plan worked. Knuckles was free of the nanobots. "Mission accomplished, Tails!" As if there was any doubt, Sonic whispered to himself as he glanced at the map of Knuckles' insides. "How do I get out of here?" Sonic asked the map. The map told him to go back down near the windpipe and take a left at Knuckles' nose. "His nose? Gross," Sonic said. Eggman roared in anger. By destroying the Queen, Sonic had destroyed all the nanobots and bees Eggman had ever created. "Next time, Sonic. Next time," Eggman promised. A few hours later, after Sonic had climbed out of Knuckles' nose and Tails had unshrunk him, the team gathered around Knuckles, who was still on Tails' lab table. "How are you feeling, Knuckles?" Amy Rose asked. "Ugh," was pretty much all Knuckles could say. "Thanks for taking the hit for me," Sonic said. "I mean, I probably would have stopped them at the last minute, but still." Tails rolled his eyes. Knuckles looked at Sonic. You've done the same for me, but next time you have to shrink down going on my body, don't climb on my spine! I can still feel your footprints back there. Deal, Sonic laughed. Hold on, how much longer is this book again? I think it's Fighting Shadow. Is it? Anyway, I'm just gonna keep reading. Fighting Shadow. Sonic didn't like to sleep at all, but tonight he was more tired than usual. He couldn't explain it, but he simply could not stay awake. He dreamed of destroying Dr. Eggman's robots and defeating the deranged scientist. Once and for all, it was a good dream. Miles away, though, the real Dr. Eggman was about to unleash a new sinister plan. He had invented a long-range mind control device and was going to direct it at Sonic. Standing at the device's controls, Dr. Eggman turned some knobs and rotated some dials. Finishing some final tests, it was ready. It looked like a speaker and was directed towards the window of Eggman's lab, towards Sonic's home. "I've completed the first phase of the plan. Blasting sound waves have made Sonic unable to stay awake," Dr. Eggman said, laughing creepily and spinning another dial. "And now I've developed a proper frequency that only Sonic can hear, which will allow me to take over his mind and place him under my control." Oh. Referencing the last story. Cool. Dr. Eggman pressed a couple of buttons and tapped on a touchscreen, verifying the frequency setting of the device. Tiny sound waves shot out of a very advanced-looking speaker, vibrated for miles through the air, and somehow headed directly towards sleeping Sonic. In his bed, Sonic snored slightly, muttering something about victory over Dr. Eggman. The sound waves from Eggman's machine moved through the window and penetrated Sonic's ear. They vibrated with a piercing frequency that forced Sonic to wake with a jump. "What's that noise?" he shrieked, covering his ears. But it was too late. The sound waves had connected with his brain. He heard a voice in his head. "Sonic." "Dr. Eggman?" Sonic asked, recognizing the voice as his arch-enemies. "Sonic, you are now under my control," Eggman's voice echoed in Sonic's head. Sonic was trying to fight off the voice and its powerful suggestions, but he couldn't. Within seconds, the pain subsided, and he relaxed his will, completely under Dr. Eggman's influence. "Yes, Master," Sonic said weakly. Sonic, come to my lair. It's time to begin your training," Eggman ordered. Sonic raced out of his home, running at top speed towards Dr. Eggman's evil laboratory. Seconds later, he arrived. Dr. Eggman was waiting for him on the grass outside his hideout. Dr. Eggman motioned for Sonic to follow him inside. Sonic's lips curled into an evil grin. He was ready to learn the ways of world domination from his new master. Inside the lair, Sonic saw hundreds, maybe even thousands of robots. They were all different and served different purposes. He began to realize these were Dr. Eggman's soldiers who carried out the mad scientist's nefarious plans, and he was expecting Sonic to act as their general, leading them into war against the world, until the entire planet was ruled by Dr. Eggman. As Sonic saw the robots, he felt a sense of anger towards them. He was having flashes of memories from fighting Eggman and these robots, but the memories felt wrong. He joined the wrong side all along. He was happy Dr. Eggman had set him free from his good ways of the past. Sonic, your first attack will be on the beachfront, just outside the city. I want you to take 20 robots and destroy all the buildings along the boardwalk. This won't take over the world, but it'll send out a message to everyone that they better get out of my way, Eggman said. Sonic sneered confidently. That won't be a problem. In fact, he thought it would be fun. Hours later, Knuckles and Amy Rose burst into Tails' lab. The beachfront is under attack by Eggman's robots, Amy Rose said with a high level of concern in her voice, and we can't find Sonic, Knuckles said gruffly. The team nodded at each other. They knew what they had to do. They raced to Tails' plane and soared toward the beach from the air. They could see the chaos of the robots smashing buildings and people running from the beach towards safety. The robots were terrorizing countless innocents and destroying everything in their path. Tails swooped his plane downward, weaving around the robots and blasting them with laser cannons. Amy, Rose, and Knuckles leaped from the plane and began manually battling the robots in hand-to-hand combat. As Knuckles threw punch after punch at robot after robot, he saw a familiar blue blur at the corner of his eye. You guys, Sonic is here, Knuckles cheered. But the team's relief and celebrations would be brief. No sooner had Knuckles declared Sonic's presence than the blue Hedgehog attacked his friends. Running full speed, Sonic jumped in the air, landing on the nose of Tails' plane. Sonic grabbed the controls from Tails and forced the plane to a nosedive. Sonic, no! Amy Rose screamed. For a moment, Sonic seemed to break from his trance and released the controls. Sonic jumped off the plane and ran away, leading the handful of robots his friends had destroyed in the retreat to safety. Tails pulled the nose of his plane upward, enough at the last minute to land the plane safely. Knuckles and Amy Rose approached the plane. What just happened? Amy Rose asked, tears filling her eyes. Knuckles punched the plane and growled in frustration. Sonic's betrayed all of us, he said. Tails stared off in the distance where Sonic and the robots had gone. He'd never seen Sonic like this. Something was very wrong. When he jumped onto the plane, I looked into his eyes. It was like he was Sonic, but wasn't Sonic at the same time. He was different. Tails said. Yeah, evil, Knuckles said, unable to hide his bitterness. What are we going to do? There has to be some way we can help them, some way we can get the old Sonic back, Amy Rose pleaded. Tails rubbed his chin as he thought. I have an idea. Tails said, if we're going to save evil Sonic and make him good again, we need to understand how he's thinking, and there's only one person in the world who can teach us. Shadow the Hedgehog was alone in his home, lost in his own thoughts. So the other characters do have homes in the Sonic universe. He was so deep in thought, Shadow was almost oblivious to Tails and Knuckles approaching him. Shadow? Tails said. What? Shadow replied coldly. We need your help. We think Sonic's been captured and turned evil by Dr. Eggman. Shadow didn't care at all, and he made that clear to Tails. So, how does that affect me? I guess it doesn't really, but we were hoping you could help us figure out a way to get Sonic back from the dark side, Tails said. Not interested, Tails replied. Knuckles moved past Tails. Listen, Buster, Sonic is evil. You're kind of like evil Sonic. You understand what he's thinking. If you don't help us figure out and stop him, Sonic and Eggman are going to take over the world, and do you really want Sonic to be the one who helps Eggman rule the planet? Shadow wasn't evil, but he didn't like being compared to Sonic in any way. That made him mad. Really mad. However, deep down, Shadow respected Sonic, and if Eggman had turned Sonic evil, that had to be corrected. Alright. Fine, I'll help, Shadow said. Shadow showed up in Tails' lab only a few moments later. So what's the plan? Shadow asked. Amy Rose and Knuckles looked blankly at each other. I thought you were going to tell us, Amy Rose said. Shadow rolled his eyes. I'm only here to tell you what's in Sonic's head. I'm not going to make your battle plans. Knuckles stood up and moved uncomfortably close to Shadow. Your intel is going to make the plan. We're going to rescue him, and you're going to tell us how. Got it? Shadow pushed past Knuckles, ignoring the warning. He walked towards one of Tails' computers. So, Genius Fox, how did Eggman turn Sonic toward the dark side in the first place? Why do I keep thinking of Star Wars every time the word dark side is said? But anyway. Well, I checked out Sonic's bedroom and found nothing out of place. There were no signs of a struggle, Tails said. So how does one get inside a person's head to turn him evil without a fight? He asked them. They all glanced around with blank looks on their faces. Tails sighed. I think Eggman may have used some kind of sound wave device that vibrated at a frequency only Sonic could hear, he said. Those sound waves could have easily carried subliminal messages into Sonic's brain, basically rewiring him. So, like a hedgehog whistle? Shadow said. You want to know what's in his head? Whatever Eggman's telling him. And based on the attack on the beachfront, it looks like he's telling him to burn the world down. I have an invention that'll blast sound waves at the opposite frequency at Sonic, using the principle of destructive interference. It should cancel out Eggman's sonic whistle, Tails said, holding up a small box roughly the size of a cell phone. The problem is it's got a very limited range, so it basically has to be within a couple of inches of Sonic, and you're the only person I know who might be able to run fast enough to get it close enough to him. This caught Shadow's attention. Might be? He asked. Well, yeah, he's pretty fast. Faster than you, I think, Tails said. And in less than a blink of an eye, his shadow zipped around Tails, snatching the sound device from his hand. Not faster than me, Shadow said defiantly. Suddenly, an alarm sounded in Tails' lap, echoing throughout his house. Another attack was underway, this time in the heart of the city. Sonic was leading dozens of robots, and there was no one standing in their way. Shadow sped nothing, but sped away to the battlefront in a black blur. Knuckles leaned into Tails. Why didn't you tell us about your little destructive interference invention in the first place? Do you really think Shadow would have come all this way for that? Tails smiled. Probably not, Knuckles said. Probably not, Tails agreed. Sonic could still hear the piercing sound that Eggman was using to control him, but he didn't care. It no longer hurt or bothered him. As long as he can take over the world, that was enough. And it was beginning in the city. Sonic led the robots into the middle of the city. As they were driving the citizens and residents into the streets. Why would you say citizens and residents? Wouldn't that be the same thing? Anyway, it was so chaotic, but chaos wouldn't bother Shadow, who sped into the town from the city's other end. He was carrying the disruptive interference device and was poised to use it on Sonic as soon as he got close. Hey, Sonic, think you can outrun me? Shadow said. Sonic shot Shadow a passing glance, but paid him little heed. Shadow raced towards Sonic, but Sonic dashed out of the way, weaving his way through the destructive robots. Shadow was trying to navigate the obstacle course of the battle, but was finding it hard as the robots kept interfering. Shadow shoved one robot out of the way as he ran past, and another he used as a springboard, leaping into the air to try to make up ground. Just as he was about to reach Sonic, Shadow felt something hard hit his ankle. One of the robots tripped Shadow. The interference device flew from Shadow's hands into the rubble and chaos in the city streets. He couldn't even see it. Great, Shadow whispered to himself. Shadow searched through the rubble. He couldn't find the device anywhere. Without it, he knew it would be almost impossible to defeat Sonic or free him from Eggman's control, and then Sonic would be in charge. Not cool. Overhead, Shadow saw Tails' plane joining the fight. Amy, Rose, and Knuckles were battling robots on the ground. Shadow grew more frantic, searching for the interference device. Looking for this? Shadow spun around to see Sonic standing on a pile of rubble, holding the interference device. Give it back, Shadow said. Give it back, Shadow said through gritted teeth. Sonic examined the box in his hands. What is it? A weapon? Shadow glared at Sonic, determined to get the device back. Something like that. It's a device that makes me even faster than you. Not that I need it. Well, let's give it a try, Sonic said as he pushed the flashing button on the device. Suddenly, the interference sound waves blasted from the box through Sonic's ears and into his brain. The sound waves clashed with the sound waves coming from Eggman's machine that was controlling Sonic. Within a few seconds, both waves that canceled each other out. Sonic fell to the ground, holding his head. Shadow took a step towards Sonic. You okay, Sonic? Shadow asked. Sonic looked up angry. Yeah, a bit of a headache is all. Well, that and a whole lot of mad at Eggman. Shadow smiled. Sonic smiled, too. Tails, Knuckles, and Amy can finish this up, Sonic said. Let's go destroy Eggman's mind control machine. Sonic was about to speed to the villain's hideout when he noticed Shadow wasn't joining him. Hey, I was just here to help you get free. Now that that's done, good job freeing yourself. By the way, I'm out. Shadow said. Shadow, if Eggman did it to me, he can do it to you too, Sonic said. Shadow opened his mouth to say something but quickly closed it. He realized Sonic was right. Let's destroy that machine, Shadow said. Sonic and Shadow raced at full speed to Eggman's hideout. Eggman didn't realize Sonic had been freed from the mind control device. If he had, maybe he could have prepared his defenses for Sonic and Shadow's arrival. The two hedgehogs burst into Eggman's lab in a blur, dismantled the mind control device right before Eggman's eyes. Eggman barely had time to say anything before the machine was completely destroyed. My perfect creation! Eggman yelled, falling to the floor, with the millions of pieces of his soundwave machine. I'll get you for this. Both of you! You'll have to catch us first, Sonic said with a sneer. Sonic and Shadow ran out of the lair side by side. So, you think you could keep up? Sonic said. Do you? Shadow asked. The rivals picked up speed. The race was on. The blue and black blurs sped away, moving toward the horizon at an immeasurable pace. Sonic was free from Eggman's grasp and deep down was grateful for Shadow's help. But he never let him know that. I think this one's the last story. Doppelganger. Tails is working in the lab, assisted by Amy, Rose, and Knuckles, building a massive vehicle. No one really knew exactly what it would do, but Tails was happy to be working together with his friends. He often did this, starting building something without knowing what it would become. It made him feel like an artist. As Amy Rose handed him a wrench and he tightened a bolt, joining two arched pieces of metal together, Tails smiled, knowing something awesome would be the end result. Do you know what this is going to be yet, Tails? Amy asked. Whatever it is, it'll probably break down on its first use, Knuckles joked. Tails smiled and said, Not yet. It's a type of ground vehicle, sort of like a solar-powered tank, but faster. I want to add massive tank-like treads to the bottom for sure. From behind them, Sonic said, That sounds amazing. They all turned to face their friend, shocked by what they saw. Sonic? Amy Rose asked. The hedgehog entering the lab looked like Sonic, but older. His blue fur was tinted with gray, and his face seemed a little worn. Who are you? Knuckles asked, tensing. Relax, Knuckles, I'm Sonic. I'm just Sonic from the future, Future Sonic said. Tails wasn't convinced. Time travel's impossible. How did you get here? Future Sonic strolled around the room, in awe of the tech filling Tails' lab and seemingly ignoring the question. Can you believe we used all this stuff? Talk about the Dark Ages, Future Sonic said. Just then, Sonic, the real Sonic, entered the lab and stopped cold in his tracks. Who were you? Sonic asked Future Sonic. I'm going to be saying the word Sonic a lot, aren't I? In this story, at least. Future Sonic sped next to Sonic. Oh, I'm you, or us, or something. I'm from the why is this giving me Sonic Generations vibes? Anyway. Or something. From the future, anyway. Tails built a time machine, and I traveled back in time today. Sonic was annoyed and suspicious. First of all, he didn't like having a lookalike hanging around. And second, there's no way this guy could be him from the future. I built a time machine? Tails whispered to himself, impressed. Why today? Sonic asked. Future Sonic continued exploring the lab, staring at the many inventions and almost inventions that cluttered the space. Because 2 days from now, Team Sonic defeats Dr. Eggman once and for all. It's the most glorious victory in the history of all victories, and believe me, I know it because I'm from the future, Future Sonic said. This piqued everyone's interest. Everyone, that is, except the real Sonic. Tails, Knuckles, and Amy Rose gathered around Future Sonic. Sonic stood off to the side, watching his friends grow more and more interested in the imposter. Greatest victory, huh? How'd we do that? Knuckles asked. Oh, I can't tell you that, Knuckles, Future Sonic said, but I'll help you guys prepare over the next couple of days. I can't get over the fact that I built, or am building, a time machine. How does that work? When do I build it? Tails asked excitedly. Sonic, what happens to us in the future? Amy Rose asked. Guys, I can't tell you any of that, you know. Space-time continuum stuff. I knew they were going to reference that. I don't want the universe to implode by screwing up the timeline, Future Sonic said. Future Sonic led the group out of the lab, passing in front of Sonic, who was leaning against a far wall. Future Sonic shot Sonic a look that seemed to say, I am taking over. Sonic felt anger rising within him. He felt replaced. He was mad at his friends for believing so easily. They'd betrayed him. Something was up. This guy was an imposter. Sonic was absolutely sure of that. But how was he going to prove it? Future Sonic and the gang were gathered around the table eating lunch. Future Sonic was impressing everyone with the stories from the future. Amy Rose, Tails, and Knuckles were soaking in everything Future Sonic was telling them. No, really, the cars fly, Future Sonic said. Why is this making me think of Sonic Riders? Anyway, but how do they maintain sufficient speed to stay in the air, but not so fast to cause lots of accidents and injuries? Future Sonic shrugged. I for sure don't know that. What do I look like? Some kind of brainiac like you, Tails? They just fly. Sonic burst into the room and got in Future Sonic's face. I don't know who you are, but I don't believe for 1 minute you're me from the future, Sonic said with a snarl. Future Sonic laughed and pushed Sonic away from me. I forgot how grumpy I used to be, he said. Sonic didn't let up. He came nose-to-nose with Future Sonic. All right, Buster, if you're really me, prove it. I'm the fastest being in the universe. You should be just as fast as me. Let's go. Future Sonic glanced around the table, a little nervous. Come on, let's not get crazy here, Sonic. I mean, I'm a lot older than you. If I don't know... Sonic left the table. Aha! I knew you were a liar. You know you can't keep up with me. See, guys, he's not me. He won't even race me. Future Sonic stood up quickly from the table. If you'd let me finish, I was going to say I'm a lot older than you. I don't know if you can keep up with me. I'm just as fast as you, maybe faster. Sonic grew hot. He couldn't believe the audacity of this faker. It's on, right now. Moments later, the group was outside. Sonic and Future Sonic were side by side behind a line drawn in the dirt. No one noticed as Future Sonic slipped a small chip into Sonic's shoe. On your marks, get set, Tails called, raising a siren blaster in the air. Go! The siren blared and the two Sonics were off. Their course would take them over the nearby hills, to the beach, to the city, and back to the starting line in one giant circle. They were neck and neck as the race began. Faster, huh? Sonic sneered at Future Sonic next to him. Just watch, Future Sonic said. Future Sonic flipped a switch on his wristband, started going faster and then faster and faster still. Within seconds, Future Sonic was blazing ahead of Sonic in a blue-gray blur. Sonic skidded to a stop, shocked, and watched Future Sonic run out of sight. This is impossible. Simply impossible, he thought. Back at the starting line, Future Sonic returned about 15 seconds after leaving. Everyone was shocked that he completed the course that quickly. Even more surprising was that it took Sonic a full 2 minutes more to complete the course and return to the starting line. How did you do that so fast? Sonic said as he gasped for breath. You know, more experience, Future Sonic said, kicking the toe of Sonic's shoe. Now we can start prepping for the big final battle against Dr. Eggman. Knuckles and Tails excitedly walked with Future Sonic back towards the lab. Future Sonic looked over her shoulder back at Sonic and winked. Amy Rose put her arm around Sonic. Are you okay? I've never seen you so winded, she said. Sonic brushed her arm off and stood up straight, squinting fiercely at Future Sonic. This isn't right, Amy. I don't know what it is, but something's up with that guy. I had to push myself, the most I've ever had, and he still, beat me by a lot. Sonic, just because he's faster than you doesn't mean anything. He's from the future. He's got better shoes, better training, and more experience, Amy Rose said, hoping her words would bring some comfort to her friend. Sonic shook his head. No, Amy, that's not it. It's not just the running, it's something else, and I'm going to find out. I'm sure it's nothing, Amy Rose said, and jogged to catch up with her friends. As Sonic watched his friends leave, he felt something strange in his shoes. His feet started moving. Before he knew it, Sonic was running away from the lab, and he couldn't stop. His shoes were forcing him. Somehow, Sonic knew he had to get his shoes off and get back to his friends before it's too late. Future Sonic, Knuckles, Amy Rose, and Tails returned to the lab and continued working on the tank. They were making good progress. Tails thought it would be up and running by the end of the day. So you need to show me how this thing works? Future Sonic said. Tails looked confused. I thought you knew that already. Don't you lead us into battle in it? Future Sonic paused, gathering his thoughts. Well, it was a long time ago. Tech has advanced way beyond that. I need a refresher on remetal tech like this. Okay, Tails said. Tails gave Future Sonic an overview of the controls, teaching him how to drive the tank and fire its laser cannon. This is so cool, Future Sonic said. A short time later, the trio tightened the final bolts. The treads were attached and the tank was finished. Tails stepped back to admire his work. I gotta admit, you did a good job with this, Tails, Knuckles said. It's perfect for the final Eggman against Final Eggman, Jesus. It's perfect for the final battle against Dr. Eggman tomorrow, Future Sonic said. Remember, we move at dawn. Knuckles turned to Tails. I'm out. Gotta prepare for tomorrow's battle. Call me if you need me, Knuckles said, as he walked out the door. I better go too, Amy Rose said. I'm gonna go find Sonic. He seemed pretty upset at the end of the race. That's because I beat him so badly, Future Sonic said, as a light on his wrist lit up and a strange beeping noise sounded. I've got to take this, a future communicator. Future Sonic disappeared into a back room. Future Sonic tapped the blinking light on his wrist. A holographic image of Dr. Eggman shot upward. Everything's going to a plan. I have access to the weapon, Future Sonic said. Good, Dr. Eggman said. They believe you? That you're from the future? Yes. Hold on. Who is this really? You planted the permanent running chip on Sonic's shoes. Eggman asked. Yes. You were my greatest creation. A robot so lifelike that even Sonic's closest friends don't realize you're a robot. I'm a genius. Eggman roared in celebration. Wait, alternative metal Sonic? Anyway, the attack begins at dawn, Future Sonic said, pushing the light on his wrist and closing the holographic image. Star Wars reference. Anyway, he turned to leave the room, but stopped dead in his tracks. Tails was standing in the doorway, eyes wide, mortified. Tails, how long have you been standing there? Future Sonic asked. Sonic was right. You are a fake, Tails said. Future Sonic lifted his right arm and blasted ropes at Tails. The ropes wrapped the wire around Tails from head to toe before he even had a chance to escape. Future Sonic grabbed the cocoon fox and dragged him to the closet. Sorry I have to do this, Tails, but I can't have you stopping our attack tomorrow, Future Sonic said. Actually, I'm not sorry. Future Sonic slammed the closet door shut. It took what felt like hours, but the speed chip overloaded and freed Sonic from its trap. He returned to Tails' lab, but it appeared abandoned. Made sense, though. It was the middle of the night, almost dawn, actually. Sonic moved to leave when he heard what sounded like a muffled cry for help coming from a back room. Sonic found the source of the noise. It was coming from inside the closet in which the Hedgehog opened. Sonic leaped back in shock, seeing Tails tied up. He quickly removed Tails' bonds. You were right, Sonic. Tails gasped. That Future Sonic,
He isn't from the future at all. He's an advanced robot created by Eggman.
Sonic gritted his teeth.
There's more. He put some kind of chip on your shoes, so you'd have to run forever.
Tails said. I know. When he kicked my foot, it set off the chip, Sonic said. But it's not a problem anymore. Tails moved into the lab. Oh no, Tails said. The tank is gone and it's almost dawn. Knuckles and Amy Rose arrived to join what they thought was going to be the climactic battle with Dr. Eggman. Tails and Sonic quickly brought them up to speed. We've got to stop him before he uses the tank, Sonic said to his team. How could I have been so stupid? I taught him how to use the tank, Sonic said. Sonic shook his head. No time for that now, Tails. We've got to find him and stop him. Outside the lab, the tank's treads had left a trail on the ground which led to the outskirts of town. If he's planning to use that on the town, Amy Rose began. I'm gonna get that guy, Knuckles said, slamming his fist into the other hand. The sun was waiting to peak over the horizon. There's no time, Knuckles. I've got to do this one by myself. Without another word, Sonic shot off in a streak, following the tread prints. Imposter Sonic plowed over... Well, they changed his name from Future Sonic to Imposter Sonic. Anyway, Imposter Sonic plowed over the rolling hills and fields that separated Tails' lab from the nearby town. Dr. Eggman had programmed him to gain Team Sonic's trust, steal some kind of weapon, and use the weapon to scare the townspeople into abandoning the town, leaving it for Eggman to come in and conquer. It was all going according to plan. Fake Sonic saw a blimp on his external sensor. Something was coming up on him from behind, and coming fast. Sonic! The robot turned the tank's laser cannons around and started blasting lasers at Sonic. Sonic dodged the laser blast. Within seconds, he jumped on top of the tank. He opened the hatch and dropped in the command seat next to fake Sonic. The two wrestled each other, trying to gain control of the tank. The laser cannon's turret spun wildly, shooting laser blast indiscriminately. You can't stop me. I'm a better version of you, Imposter Sonic yelled. No, you're not, Sonic screamed, grabbing the robot's arms. Sonic threw the robot out of the tank's controls and on top of the tank. You could have just said it. Never mind. The tank continued to roll towards the town, as Sonic and his doppelganger wrestled one another. Fake Sonic pinned Sonic to the roof of the tank. Face it, I'm better than you. You'll never defeat me, he said. Sonic brought a foot up to the robot's chest. I've had enough of you. Real will always be better than robots, always. Sonic kicked out, sending the robot backward. Fake Sonic came back towards Sonic, planning to throw him off the tank. As he got close, though, the robot tripped over a large bolt on top of the tank. He slipped off, landing on the ground in front of it. The massive tread slowly rolled over him, crushing the metal monster. Sonic slipped back into the tank, shutting it down. It was over. So later, Sonic rejoined his friends at Tails' lab. Tails and Knuckles were dismantling the tank. Now that Eggman knew about it, Tails didn't want their enemy to steal it again. Amy Rose looked sad. I'm sorry I doubted you, Sonic. Hey, no big deal. I gotta whip his butt and save the day, Sonic said. The best part is, we still get to make our own future. The end. Here's what the back of the book looks like. And with that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to y'all later.